Oh my god, I can finally tell you guys, I have a secret message for you. If you go to my YouTube channel page on desktop, not mobile, go to uploads and hit play all. The first word I say in my past 20 videos, including this one, they're gonna spell out my secret message. So enjoy. Now let's finally talk about this. Stranger Things 3. Yeah, season 3 of Stranger Things premiered on Netflix on July 4th. My brother and I finished watching it quite a few days ago. I've been putting this video off because, once again, I've been lazy. So basically, after the events of season 2, all the kids and everyone's hanging out and they're fine. Mike and Elle are finally a couple and we like seeing that. Well, except for Jim Hopper, who's not a big fan of it. He adopted Eleven as his daughter at the end of season 2. But really, the main story comes from, this being 1985. There are evil Russians in America now. They want to reopen the gate to the other dimension, the Upside Down. Also, the monster from that other dimension is now taking control of people. It's gonna create an army to feed itself to rain destruction. And so now we have our third season of the hit Netflix show. And I don't know, some people weren't such a big fan of this season, but I still see nothing wrong with the show. There are a couple things, yeah, sure, a couple flaws, but all in all, I still think Stranger Things is the greatest Netflix original show. The thing about this season is that for the majority of it, everyone is so isolated doing their own things. Like Jim Hopper and Joyce, they're off trying to solve the mystery of why these magnets aren't sticking to her fridge. Nancy and Jonathan are trying to figure out why these rats are going crazy. My favorite pocket of characters though has to be Steve and new character Robin, and later they're joined by Dustin and also Lucas's sister Erica, who is not a nice person at all. But really, they're my favorite because they're the funniest. Steve is absolutely the funniest character in the show. I think we can all agree on that, maybe? Steve and Robin have taken a summer job at this Scoops Ahoy shop in this mall, the Starcourt Mall, which is a huge center point of the season. And at the beginning of the season, Steve's just trying to pick up girls that come to the shop. It's pretty funny. He turns around and he's like, "Hello girls, welcome to this ocean of flavor. I'll be your captain." And Robin has this whiteboard of you rule and you suck, and she has all the tallies. Robin's a great character too because she's got that spunk and sass. She is not afraid to talk shit to Steve. She's great. She's played by Maya Hawke, the daughter of Uma Thurman and Ethan Hawke. I don't know, I just think that's pretty cool. And actually, I also really like the Joyce and Jim Hopper storyline because at first Joyce is still trying to get over the death of Sean Astin's character in season 2. Rest in peace, man, because he was awesome. Weird thing, though, is that Jim it looks like he just suddenly has feelings for her, which honestly I can't blame him for. Am I the only guy who still has a super attraction to Winona Ryder? Jeez. But for Jim, it did seem to come out of nowhere. But they're trying to figure out the mystery of the magnets, and they go to Murray from season 2. And this guy's also hilarious, because they bring that Russian spy they got, and it turns out Murray can speak fluent Russian. That was all Bozhe moi. That's Russian for oh my god. I took 3 years of Russian in high school. I don't remember much, but I do remember that. But anyway, those were my favorite story arcs of the season. It was Steve and Robin and Dustin, and also Joyce and Jim. The whole Nancy and Jonathan thing, trying to convince the news guys of the rats going crazy, that was okay. I mean, those news guys, one of them was played by Connor's father from Dear Evan Hansen. And those news guys, they're assholes, man. I mean, they're kind of cartoonish and they just laugh at the stories that Nancy's given them because, oh, she's a girl and she's crazy because it's sexist 80s, whatever. But they were just really over the top and cartoonish. A little too much for my taste. And of course, the main kids of the show, Mike, Elle, Lucas, Max, they're trying to figure out why Billy's gone crazy. Billy, once again played by Dacre Montgomery, really, really well. He was a douche last season. This season, he's the first person to be affected by the monster. So really, throughout the season, he's just doing this monster's bidding. He's not as charismatic as he was last season. He's really more stoic, which to me was fine because that's just the story of the season. To me, what was interesting about this story arc was the relationship between Mike and Elle, because pretty early on in the season, due to Jim's manipulation of Mike, Elle ends up breaking up with him, to which you're like, nah, man, come on. But it does give Elle and Mike some more character development, plus Elle and Max become closer as friends, and that was really cool to see. But throughout this season, you're like, when are they gonna get back together? I do like how their story ended, though. And I might touch on some spoilers here, so you've been warned. I didn't want to, because I know how these shows are sometimes. Some people probably still aren't finished watching this season. So before I get into the spoilers, my spoiler-free verdict is, I still think it's a great season. It's completely worth watching if you haven't yet. The characters are still great. Some of the writing is a bit lackluster at times, I'll admit it. And the violence. I think this is the most violent season of Stranger Things we've had yet. There was actually a part in the last episode where I actually had to shield my eyes. It's the very beginning. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, if you've seen it. Yeah, I couldn't watch that. That was gross. All in all, I think this will be the divisive season of Stranger Things. It'll separate the casual fans from the hardcore fans. Me, I still love the show and I can't wait for season 4. Alright, good. Are we good? Alright, let's get into some spoilers. Alright, first of all, Jim Hopper, rest in peace. Well, maybe. Okay, I don't know if he's still alive or not. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's dead. He was standing next to that machine and you saw those other guys just disintegrate. They were a fair distance away from it. Jim Hopper was right next to it. But we did not see him disintegrate. And you see that post-credit scene where the Russians were like, the American. So maybe they have him. I don't know if they do or not. If he is around next season, they better write a good reason for it. I mean, I would be happy that he's back, but I would call bullshit if it wasn't a good reason. The sad part is he was about to score with Joyce, man. They were about to go out to Enzo's. As much as Jim was a douchebag this season, I did want to see that. And you can't deny that he was. Yeah, I mourn his death, but he was an asshole this season. Like, especially to Mike and Elle. He was a dad and he was a bit way too overprotective. He just couldn't understand that, you know, kids, they make out. I'm pretty sure the reason he was so bitter this season is because his Hellboy movie was not that successful. That would make one bitter. Or at least it would make sense that David Harbour would react that way. It does make sense, right? But yeah, that last episode, I thought it was really good. That monster is awesome. No, seriously, like in the last season, this Mind Flayer was just this big shadow monster that looked kind of like a xenomorph, but huge with tendrils, but it was just a big smoke monster. This season, it has a solid form, and it's made from all like the busted insides of the people it's controlled, which does add to the over-the-top violence this season, because sometimes the people it controls, like, they'll just, and then they'll just explode, and then their insides will just start moving on their own, like the symbiote from Spider-Man or something. Like the scene where they're in the hospital and Connor Murphy's dad from Dear Evan Hansen just explodes and his insides morph with the insides of that other news guy and they form that hospital monster. I was like, ugh, gross. That being said, awesome. That was wild, man. That was some next level shit. And then the final monster that shows up at the Starcourt Mall. Dude, this thing is enormous. It's like the size of a house. It's like this giant thing with these legs that crawls like Nadiki from Bionicle or something. Yeah, there's your throwback, huh? I just love the way that thing is designed. It reminded me of the aliens from A Quiet Place. And Billy has his redemption arc, which I actually really liked. Because his memories were accessed by Eleven in the sort of weird dream sequence, which I thought could have been better. I mean, she's on the beach and there's this big storm and she's seeing like Billy's childhood trauma. But the scene was so loud and was like screaming at you so much, I was like, all right, I get it. Probably would have been better if it was just like quiet, you know? Would have allowed it to marinate more. But in the end, Billy did sacrifice himself to save Eleven, which I thought was awesome actually. Because if he could be redeemed, I think anyone can be redeemed. Because he was a really bad dude. So I'm glad that he actually got to make one noble sacrifice. That was good. And the monster dies because Joyce closes the machine by herself and the machine kills Jim Hopper in the process. I covered that. Oh, how about Robin coming out? That was great, huh? Like, throughout the season, I was agreeing with Dustin with like, yeah, Steve, you should just end up with Robin because you guys are hanging out anyway. And it does look like it's going that way, but like season 1, it subverts your expectations. And when Steve and Robin are just sitting there in the bathroom stall and Robin's talking about how she had a crush on this girl in high school, I was watching it with my brother and we both just kind of looked at each other and we were like, cool. That's why I said Robin is just a solid character. She's one of my new favorites for sure. One last thing I gotta talk about is Dustin and Susie. First of all, how adorable was that? Like, the beginning of the season, Dustin comes back from summer camp and he tells his friends, I have a girlfriend now, and they're like, yeah, right. He's trying to contact her on this Cerebro radio and she's just not picking up. So you're like, okay, yeah, maybe he doesn't have a girlfriend. Then at the end of the season, he finally contacts her and you see her, she's this little girl with glasses, and I was just like, aw. The way they're talking to each other, giving each other, like, you know, little pet names, I was like, this is adorable. Call me a softie, I don't give a shit. The best part, of course, is when they're singing Neverending Story together. Look at what you see. I've never seen Neverending Story. I'm pretty sure if I watch it now, I probably wouldn't like it because it's just 80s kid stuff, but that was a good song though. Especially later when Lucas and Max are teasing Dustin with it. That scene was hilarious. But the season ends with Will, Joyce, and Elle. They're actually moving away from Hawkins. And it's a sad goodbye, and it was sad. And it seems like Elle doesn't have her powers anymore because of the thing she lifted out of her body in the scene I couldn't watch. And Mike and Elle finally profess their love for each other and they kiss, and she was like, I love you too, and that was a great scene because I was like, aw, again. And yeah, it was a sad goodbye. And like I said, normally I'm not a huge fan of these goodbyes and the conclusion of these stories, but here I'm actually fine with it because I know there's more to come. I know there's gonna be at least one more season because the creators of the show, the Duffer Brothers, they said that from the beginning they had a 4-season plan. So I know that this goodbye is not the end of their story, so I'm fine with it. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Toy Story 4. I know that somehow Elle and Mike will be reunited. Hopefully she'll get her powers back somehow, and we can all rejoice and figure out the mystery of the Upside Down together. So yeah, in conclusion, spoiler-filled this time, I still really love this season of Stranger Things. Maybe not as good as the first 2 seasons, but I still don't regret watching a second of this. I'm pretty sure Jim Hopper's still alive? Maybe not? I don't know. I want to see more Dustin and Susie next season because that was adorable, and I want Mike and Elle to officially get back together. All in all, I still love the hell out of Stranger Things. So Stranger Things 3, have you watched it? Have you finished it? What did you think about it? And what is your favorite season of Stranger Things so far? Whatever you think, go ahead and leave a comment. And don't forget to subscribe.